Yeah, there it is.
Okay, I don't know why. You guys see it and I don't, so I trust you.
Maybe because the Gemara is taking up your whole screen, or if you
Yeah,
press the very top of the screen, you might see the toolbar.
yeah. Well, no, that's fine.
Anyways, it's there.
So as long as you know it's there, we're good. Okay, we're starting the Gemara Brachos test of Amid Bays. From here on till a good chunk, it's Agadata Gemara, relatively easy Gemara, just ethical imperatives about the Shema. Tane Rav Ovadia Kameda Rava. Rav Ovadia taught a brisa in front of Rava, expounding on the following word from the Shema. The Shema says, "V'limadtem," and you shall teach them. So the word "v'limadtem," that's the proper grammar. That you teaching a plural people, meaning your children, etc. But if we play on this from the word "shiyehei limudcha tam." Limadtem is a combination of two words: limad, which is study, and tam, which is pure or wholesome. So what's to be learned from that? So when you're saying the Shema, the saying of it should be wholesome. Sheyitein revach bein hadvekim, that one should leave space. Revach means a space to pause between the attached words. What does that mean? What does it mean, attached words and to pause? Well, so Rava explained what it meant. So Ani Rava Basrei, Rava responded after Rava Vaja to explain what that cryptic statement means, that your learning should be wholesome, to leave space in between the attached. So what he means is if you have two consecutive words where the last vowel this makes the same sound of the first vowel of the next word, such as kigon, when you have the two words one after the other, al and levavecha. So if you read it too quickly, it will sound like alevavecha, one big word, alevavecha. But no, they're two words. So therefore you have to leave space. So therefore you say al levavecha. Okay, I over emphasized it, but clearly it can't be alevavecha. That would be wrong. Al levavecha, it sounds like one word. So you'd read it, al levavecha. You just made a brief pause after al levavecha. That's the proper way to say it. And you have many of these, such as the next one, al levavchem, upon your hearts. Or, bechol levavecha. You see the lamets are connected. Bechol levavchem. Okay, now we're going to have two vases, one after the other. Esev besodecha. Or another one. Now the other one, yeah. Next one, he has a lot of examples. Va'avad tem mehera. Or haknaf pesil. Or eschem me'eretz. Okay, those are the examples that he gave, where if you're not careful, if you don't read it slower, what's going to happen is you're going to be connecting them. Eschem me'eretz, same idea. So you've got to leave a pause. Now, what's the benefit of this? And this is a great benefit. I think we mentioned it once outside. Amar Rab Chama b'Rabbi Chanina. Rab Chama says the name of Rabbi Chanina, Kol hakoirei kriya shema umedaktek be'osiosel. Anyone who reads the Shema and is meticulous in enunciating the letters and the words properly, like this way and in other ways, mitzananin lo gehenim, they cool off the gehenim that he receives in the next world. Okay, now medaktek be'osiosel goes beyond what we just gave examples of, but to be particular in every way of reading it, such as when we know there's the two dots, the shva, the sound, there's a shva noch, a resting shva, and a shva na, a moving shva. Let me give you one good example of this. Let's go back to these two words. So they're being meticulous in not combining the two words together is one way, va'avadtem hera. But how do you read that first word? There's a correct way to read it and an incorrect way to read it. The incorrect way is va'avadtem. That is incorrect, because under that daled, the two dots, it's not a moving shva, it's a resting shva. The proper way to read it is va'avadtem. You hear the difference? I'll say again. The correct way is va'avadtem, where the daled rested, as opposed to va'avadtem. Okay? So you got a lot of those kinds of shvas in the Shema that have to be pronounced correctly. That goes beyond the fact you got to pronounce every vowel properly. You know, you don't say ve'avadtem, but it's va'avadtem. So that's a lot of care, and you got to really slow it down until you really initially know how to read it correctly. And I feel many people, there's something that unfortunately a lot of kids when they're little, the teachers weren't so good at the language themselves, and they never taught it properly. So you have to be careful. But if you're very careful and you read it, you cool off your Gehenna. So first we'll give you the source to that, and then I'll give you the hashkafa behind that. Shenemar, it says in Psalms, and this is the hint to it, it says, Beforeis Shaddai Melochim Boh Tashleg B'Tzalmon. What does that mean? When the Almighty scatters kings, that's Beforesh, and when Hashem scatters kings, in it shall those in shadowy darkness be whitened. Tashleg is from the word sheleg, which is snow. So those in shadowy darkness will be whitened. Okay, so what does that mean? So the simple meaning is when Hashem scatters the Canaanite kings in Israel, when the Jews go in and scatter the enemy kings, so in Eretz Yisrael shall those in the shadowy darkness be whitened. Okay, so he says, Al Tikre, don't read it only as Bifares, which means he scatters. Okay, that's the way it should be read properly. But you can also read it with the same dots but different letters. Ela Bifaresh, not with a sin, but a shin, which means when he is clear, meaning in accordance with the way it's spelled, the simpler reading is Bifaresh. Now, Beforesh means when it's clear. Now, you got to read the next word. Al Tikre, don't read the following word, Bit Salmon, in shadowy darkness, but rather Ella Bit Salmoves, but rather in the shadow of Gehenna. Okay, so now that you make those adjustments, okay, so now it'll be like following. It will make the Almighty clear. By what? How are you going to make it clear? By separating the letters of the Shema, where you accept the Almighty's yoke of heaven. So you're making Hashem clear. Then the Torah by which the kings of Israel rule will tashlek tzalmoves, will cool off for you the shadow of death, meaning how it's going to be in Gehenna. So that's the hint to that in the Torah. So now what does that mean exactly? So the answer is, Gehenna is very, very hot. It's very hot. It's because, remember, you were too anxious to do Averas, and when you did an Avera, you created all kinds of heat, as it were. So, you got to be punished with a similar heat as a punishment. So as we've said many times, if we do things that are wrong, either Hashem is going to fix it up, or we could fix it up on our own. For example, if we speak Lashon Hara, which is definitely not a good thing, so either Hashem's going to send us tzaras or give us other sicknesses instead of tzaras. So, or we could fix it up on our own and do tshuva of not speaking Lashon Hara. No, I know a lot of you don't speak Lashon Hara. All of you don't speak Lashon Hara. I don't know if you ever did. But if you used to, you can remember that when a good juicy piece of Lashon Hara came along, it's very enjoyable to say it. It's geschmack, like that you could tear somebody down, if you have that kind of mindset, just listen to any of the news outlets. You can see the geschmack they have, trying to criticize other people and catch people making a mistake. You can go and see the glee in their eyes. We caught Trump. He was inconsistent or this and that. It's a geschmack. Now when you learn about the laws of Lashon Hara, you go, whoa, I'm not allowed to do that. I thought that's, an honorable thing to do. And now you see it's a terrible avera. And now you have a good geschmack, a piece of Lashon Hara. You come home, you want to tell your wife this geschmack, a piece of Lashon Hara, and you have to hold it inside of you. Like you're bursting. You want to say this. You have at times, sometimes at work, somebody really does something terrible to you, and you're really upset about it. And you want to, tell it over to somebody. It's going to feel good. Get it off my chest, but it's 100% Lashon Hara, 100% Lashon Hara. So if you hold it in, boy, are you going through a lot of discomfort. It's very painful. That's the tshuva, the pain you go through in the tshuva of not speaking Lashon Hara. That's the kapara. And you don't need saras, and certainly you don't need Gehenna, because you're suffering greatly in not saying that Lashon Hara. Same thing over here. When you're saying the Shema, the easiest thing to do is run through it. Run through it. There's, other congregations where, you visit and, they say the whole Shema in 30 seconds. Just buzz through it. Okay, now to say every word of the Shema meticulously and carefully really takes a good 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 4 or 5 if you're trying that in the beginning. Now, to say the words carefully is so painful. It is honestly painful. And then to go back and correct yourself. And that pain is what is exchanging for not having to go through the pain of going to Gehenna. Because holding yourself back, you want to gallop through. And holding yourself back builds the tension, builds the pressure. Try to read carefully. I remember when I was young, when I was 16 is when I finally made the decision that I'm going to read the davening instead of skip the words. When you're young, you just, in school, blah, 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 and just, talk to your friend and turn the page. When I was 16, I remember I said, I'm going to say every word of the davening. It was a very painful year for me during davening, but sooner or later I was able to do it. As I got older, that not just to say every word, now I got to say every word correctly with the right shvanach and the right shvanah and the right dogesh and all these things. It's very hard. It's painful, and it so to say builds heat. Like you want to go fast and you're going slow, and it's just so hard and painful. That is a good pain to have, because that will take away a lot of the Gehenna you have to have. So that's a great way to avoid that. And especially now we have a lot more time to cool it off. Okay, let's move on. Another drasha that is on a similar vein. The Amar Rabbi Chama Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chama said in the name of the son of Rabbi Chanina. Now we're going to talk about one of the lesser known shiras in the Torah. That's the shira after the Jewish people were saved in the desert, unbeknownst to them. Remember when they were passing through in the Nachal Arnon area, they were going through a valley where there were 2 mountains, and the Amorites were going to ambush the Jews by throwing stones at them and killing them. Jews were totally unaware of what was going on. Hashem did a miracle, and without the Jews knowing, the top of the mountains, he brought them together, crushing the Amorites, and then their bones and blood went into the ground, but the well of Miriam followed them, and then the Jews saw these skulls and bones and everything falling, and then they went and sang a song in thanks of Hashem. That's towards the end of Sefer Bamidbar. So there's a number of poetic verses over there that really are very hard to understand. But the rabbis make certain connections to the words. And therefore they ask, as you'll see in the verse in a minute, Lama Nismachu, why are the following concepts or words connected to each other? Moving to the top of Tes Zayin Amid Aleph, the words ohalim, tents, lit, to the next word, nechalim, brooks or valleys where there's water, little streams, in a pasuk. Now, what's the pasuk? Tichsiv, as it's written. Okay, here it is. Here's the words. Okay, let's take a look at the full pasuk. It's all poetry. Kin cholim nitayu, stretching out like brooks. Kiganos ale nahor, like gardens by a river. Here's the word now. Ka'aholim nota, like aloes. I guess it's a type of a tree. Planted, nota Hashem, planted by Hashem. Karazim ale moyim, like cedars by the water. So you got the word necholim, that's the little brooks, and aholim, which he's calling them aloes. Okay, so what's the juxtaposition of necholim to aholim? Okay, so that, again, back to that, but it's nachalim. It can also be word nicholim. So it could be aloes, but the letters can also spell necham, which are tents. So we've got brooks and tents in this pasuk, as I quoted for you already. So what's the connection of brooks to tents? Lomar loch, to teach you, ma necholim, a brook is like a river, so it can serve as a mikvah. So ma necholim mali mesa odom mitum l'tara, just like a brook can elevate a person spiritually from tamei to tara by going into the mikvah. Af ohalim, so too tents. Here we're meaning tents of Torah. Mali nesa odom mekaflo kova lekafskos, can elevate a person from the scale of guilt to the scale of merit, and therefore the tent is a hint to a tent of Torah. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenosecha Yisrael, means the tents of Yaakov or the tents of Torah. So we see that connection. So now, what's the point? So here's the commentary. For not only does the Torah act as a deterrent against sinning, but even if a person sins and contaminates his soul, Torah has the power to purify him and return him to the correct path. Hence, the analogy of brooks to the tents of Torah is most appropriate. Since a mikvah, brook, renders a person Torah after he becomes tamei, so too the same thing with the Torah. I would imagine the connection of these two statements. The first one about being careful in reading the Shema takes away your Gehenna. And here, he's telling you the study of Torah also takes you away from the scale of guilt towards the scale of merit. It's the same idea where it will cool things off for you, such as, could be, you could say in this world, the Gemara says, if a person has certain averos, where we know there's certain averos where tshuva and Yom Kippur is not enough, and you have to have suffering. You must go through suffering to purify yourself. So Rabbeinu Yonah discusses, again, there are things you can do to avoid. Now, regular suffering can mean, God forbid, God has you lose money, get sick, whatever, that God will clean you out. Or you can, again, be ahead of the curve and give yourself suffering. So how do you suffer? The biggest suffering is if you're used to learning so much Torah every day, to double it, they say, which is suffering. Why? Because now I'm cutting into my work time, my this time, my spare time, and learning Torah is not an easy endeavor. So that with the tenets of Torah, learning Torah is not easy. It is painful. And therefore, go through that pain, and so that's the idea of taking from the scale of guilt to the scale of merit. So saying Shema in this world carefully is painful, but it's going to clean you out, cool off your oilam haba from Gehenna. So therefore, learning Torah is also very painful, but it works like a mikveh to purify you. Okay, now we're leaving the Agadah to Gemara, and now we go back to the last part of the Mishnah that we learned, that said, Hakore lemafreya, if a person reads the words out of sequence, okay, in other words, you've skipped the line, then you go back to that line, but in sum total, you've read the chapter, the paragraph out of order. You read, let's say you read line 1, 2, then 4 and 5, and it went back to 3, whatever. So you read it out of order. Lo yotzu, you have not fulfilled your obligation. What you have to do is you have to go back to the part you skipped and repeat over the part you said. So let's say you said verse 1 and 2, and then you skipped and went 4 and 5. You have to go back to 3 and then say 3, 4, and 5. And that way you're doing it in order. That's what the Mishnah says. So now the Gemara will come up with a question. So Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Yasi have a kakotri leg genona l'Ravalos. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Yasi were fastening a canopy for the wedding of Rabbi Lazar. Okay, so they were, you see, first of all, you see that the rabbis wasn't beneath their dignity to do quote unquote Joe job work, setting up a canopy. It's not, you leave it for the caterer, for the florist, No, it's a mitzvah. You set up the canopy. That's just a side. But anyway, Amar Laho, so Rabbi Lazar said to them, in the meantime, now this is the chassan. This is the chassan. Well, what does the chassan usually do? He's busy taking pictures for 4 hours, right? He's busy with all kinds of things. Saying, well, it's a little bit of downtime. Can you imagine how many chassanim would do this? So, let me go and hear something in the study hall. Right? So even though it's an important day, but listen, I'm waiting anyway. I'm putting up the canopy, so let me learn something. And the AC, and I will come back. And I'll tell it to you. Going to a wedding is not a time to waste time. So now I see there's some downtime. I'll go to the base measures, learn a little, come back and share the Torah. Good. So he went to the yeshiva and he found a Tana who was reciting the following brisa before Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, now this is all, the footnotes are just telling you some technical points. The Tana, quote unquote, mentioned here was not a sage of the Mishnaic era like a Tana. Why? Since Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Ami, and Rav Asi were all Amoroyim. So there's after the times of the Tanoim. Rather, this person was an expert who committed the Mishnayos and Brises to memory and recited them before the Rosh Yeshiva. So he wasn't a Tana, but he found somebody who was an expert in telling over Brises. And here is the Brisa that he quoted. And that's our Mishnah that says, Kara v'ta. Now, let's say the guy was reciting the Shema and he erred. Let's say he left out a word or a pasuk. But here's the problem. But he does not know precisely where he erred, and he's not sure what he should do. Okay, we'll see in a minute. It's going to say he should return to the beginning. So now that's where you see the Bach adds the words Yachsul Rosh. He should return to the beginning. That's the text the Gemara really has. There's some letters over there. According to the cases where one knows that he erred while reciting the Shema, but he does not know where in the Shema he erred. So that's an interesting situation. He knows he skipped something, but he's not sure where he did. So he's got to return to the beginning. I guess that could happen sometimes where you just started saying the Shema, and you've only been saying it for about 15 seconds, and you find yourself at the end of the Shema. So you skipped something or whatever. Yeah, but I don't know what I skipped. Oh, let's start from the beginning because you don't know what it is. So anyway, let's see how it finishes up. But that's the case. He made a mistake, but doesn't exactly know where the mistake was. Doesn't know what he skipped. So let's see what's going on. So there's different types of situations. If it's be'emtza haperek, if he knows that the error occurred in the middle of a paragraph of the Shema, remember there's 3 paragraphs of the Shema. So in the middle, but he doesn't know exactly where. But he knows it's in this paragraph I made the mistake. Then Yachsul Rosh, he should go back to the beginning of that paragraph only. Now, if he knows where the error occurred, he should go to that point and continue from there. He knows I missed this line, then go back to that line and finish it up. But he doesn't know. He knows he skipped something, but so start from the beginning. But how about the mistake was bein perek leperek? If he knows that he's in between the paragraphs, but he doesn't know which one of between the paragraphs he's at. I know I'm either between paragraph 1 and 2, or I'm between paragraph 2 and 3. So I don't know if I said paragraph 1 alone, or I said paragraph 1 and 2, right? He knows that he has just concluded one paragraph and has to begin another. He doesn't know which one. So then what does he have to do? Yachsor leperek rishon. He returned to the interval between the first and second paragraph because he knows for sure he did the first paragraph. He doesn't know about the other one. Okay, fine. Now the mistake becomes a little bit more tricky because there's a couple lines in the first paragraph and in the second paragraph, the line is identical. The line is identical. And there, we'll show you in a minute. Now, I know I was either in the middle of paragraph 1 or the middle of paragraph 2, and I'm at this line. We'll see. Bein ksiva leksiva. If it's between the first verse that commands the ksiva, the writing of the mezuzah, and the second verse that commands the writing of the mezuzah. It says twice exactly the same words. Uchsaftam al mezuzos beisecha uvi sharecha. Once in the first paragraph, once in the second paragraph. The case here is where a person knows that he has reached this verse, but he doesn't know whether he's in the first paragraph or the second paragraph. Now, these mistakes happen when you're not looking inside a siddur and following along. He knows he just said the word beisecha uvi sharecha. Okay, am I in the first paragraph, second paragraph? No, I don't know. So then obviously, Yachsor l'ksiva rishona. Go back to the first paragraph after that word, because you know you at least said that. That's what the brisa, the person who was quoting the brisas said that. So he found a Tana who was saying brisas in front of Rabbi Yochanan. So Amar le Rabbi Yochanan, so Rabbi Yochanan, reaction to that was, he says, Lo shanu ela shelo pasach belaman yir b'yamechem. That last line, that ruling of the brisa, if you're saying the Shema Yair, that's only if you did not begin the line Laman Yirbu Yamechem. That's the very end of the second chapter. That's the last verse of that. Laman Yirbu Yamechem, right? So that's only if he didn't say that. Aval Pasach Belaman Yirbu Yamechem. But if he began saying those words, and he knows he's already said that line, he knows he said that line, and then was uncertain whether he stated every word of the third portion, right? But he knows he said that. Now he's doubtful if he said the third chapter, so we assume sirche nokat v'aseh. He's adopted his habit of reciting that portion flawlessly and doesn't require him to go back to that part of in order to prolong your days. Why is that? So he says, since a person's fluent in the third portion of Shema, because that's the one of tzitzis, that's a short one and it's a pretty easy one to remember. So we can assume that once he is certain he recited the last line of the second sentence, then he probably went right into the third portion. So therefore, we assume he just went all the way through. But where the doubt arises in regards to one of the first two portions, we don't maintain he's such an expert, so he has to go back to where he knows for sure he said. So that's the rule. So if the mistakes in the first and second sections, whatever type of mistake it is, you go back to what you know for sure you said and what you're doubtful you don't. Once you said, etc., we assume that once you did that, you just went right into the next paragraph, and we assume that you said the entire Shema. That was the teaching was in the yeshiva that this chassan was listening to. So now Rabbi Loser came back, and told Rav Ami Ravasi the teaching that he had over there. Amrulay, they said to him, if we came for a wedding, and that's a wedding, it's a big mitzvah, big wedding to give joy. If we only came just to hear this, dayenu, it would have been enough. That would have been great to show you how important they valued one teaching of Torah. It was so special, even more important than going to the wedding. So I think that's an interesting idea that we should start thinking about next time we get to go to a wedding. Really should think about how much time we waste at weddings and how you see people are willing to go to yeshiva for a wedding. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to a wedding. I'm not saying you shouldn't celebrate a wedding. But I think one of the things Hashem really wants us to think about, because no one is going to weddings, or whatever weddings you're going to are very small, very brief, and to the point. I'm sure Hashem doesn't want us to go to the extreme and only have 10 people at a wedding and only have it for 15 minutes. But I think Hashem also does not want us to go to the extreme, that you have to spend 5 hours at a wedding as well. I know that's a hard message for people to hear, but I think Hashem wants us to think about it and to maybe think about how we can, give joy to a chassan and kala. That's what you're going for a mitzvah, and to realize you have a mitzvah to learn Torah as well, and you can do both. You see this Tana, who was the chassan himself, felt he shouldn't be wasting time. Certainly we shouldn't as well. I think that's something we have to think about in going forward when Hashem will allow us to go to weddings. Maybe the way we have to change our behaviors in that a little bit. Okay, have a great day, guys. I hear Mayor's calling.
Thank you.
So, Sei Gesund, and we'll see you later. Let's hope for warmer weather. Good to see you, Stan. Happy that you're at the class. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And
Stop share. End meeting. End